the show. Today is day one of yet another meal plan week. Now, last week we posted my grocery list that will get you set up for dinner every single day this week. I hope you had a chance to go grocery shopping so we can do some cooking together. But if not, don't worry, the list will be online all week long. So the theme of this week is kind of like a bougie on a budget vibe. Essentially, I want to go like fancy. Everything's going to be delish, but we're going to go on a little bit of a budget, which is always a good thing. As always, the grocery list and the recipes are designed to be as easy as possible and help you make the most of the ingredients that you're buying. So first up, on Monday, a lot of people around the office love this, so I wanted to make it. We're doing a burrito bowl. They are perfect, right? Who doesn't like a burrito bowl? They're perfect for dinner, but my favorite part of them, they double up as lunch prep for the next day, which is always a good thing. So the first thing I want to I'm too excited about this burrito bowl. First thing I want to get to work on is the grains. So if you wanted to, you could do quinoa, you could do couscous. I'm sticking with plain old rice because that's my preferred starch in a burrito bowl. So I've got a cup of plain long grain white rice here that I've rinsed off in a fine mesh sieve. Anytime I'm cooking rice, I like to give it a rinse first. Essentially what that does is it removes a little bit of the starch from the outside of those rice grains, allowing them to cook up really nice and fluffy. You get individual grains and you don't end up with like weird savory rice pudding, which you could call risotto, but we're not gonna do that to risotto because that would not be delicious. So I'm gonna pop that into a pan. And I'm gonna add in about 1.5 cups of water. If your rice has a different measurement listed on the bag, go for it. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, rice is the hardest thing in my opinion to cook. I don't know what it is. I find it really tricky to cook. It always ends up kind of weird, so I just listen to what the internet or the bag tells me. So you do you. All right, I am gonna season that up with a little bit of salt. And just like with any rice, you wanna bring that up to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, pop a lid on, drop that heat down to low, and let that go for about 15 to 18 minutes, or again, what the bag says. Listen to the bag, that's one of the things. Now, that's gonna do its thing, and while that does its thing, I'm gonna get to work on the protein for these burrito bowls. So for the protein, you can use anything you'd like. You could do chicken thighs, you could do tofu, you could even do like shrimp or steak. I'm gonna do chicken thighs today, but this marinade, you can work with anything. So anytime I'm doing a marinade though, I like to use a bag. And yes, I wash these out after and I reuse them all the time, but I love using a bag because essentially what it does is it allows all of the marinade to kind of touch the protein that you're trying to marinate. Essentially, if you had it in a bowl, it can kind of like hang out and then you gotta flip it around. And we're all busy people, we don't have time to flip it around. We just put it in a bag and you're good to go. All right, so the first thing I need is some cilantro. So I've got a bunch of cilantro here, and as opposed to using the actual leaves for this marinade, I'm actually gonna use the stems. This is a really good way to use up all the flavor that you've bought. You're not throwing stuff in the green bin, but it's gonna give you really nice, bright cilantro flavor. So I want about 1/4 cup of those stems, finely chopped up. That's about 1/4 cup. If you get some leaves in there, not a bad thing. But I'm just gonna toss those on into that bag. The cilantro stems give you really nice kind of bright flavor. They're really delicious. And again, you'd usually toss those in the green bin, so you're good to go now. We're saving you money by using the stuff you bought. Always a good thing. Now into there, I'm also gonna add in the zest and juice of a lime. I love using the zest of any sort of citrus fruit, including limes. Limes have like a really nice kind of, is it sweet? Somewhere between sweet and bitter. I'll call it bittersweet zest. It's really nice and bright, but you get that like pure lime flavor, and then the inside gives you that acidity. And anytime you're making a marinade, whether you're using wine or beer or vinegar or citrus fruit, that little bit of acidity is the thing that helps kind of break into that protein, giving you like a quicker marinade, which is always a good thing. So again, lime goes in. To be honest, you can just throw the whole lime in if you want after you're done squeezing it. That's not gonna hurt anybody. It's also not really gonna do anything, so it's more if you wanna put off throwing stuff in the garbage. Always a good thing. All right. Now into there, I'm also gonna add in 3 cloves of garlic that I've chopped up. Toss that in. And then I want about 2 to 3 teaspoons of just a classic Tex-Mex seasoning. You can get this in the spice aisle at your grocery store. You could even get it in a bulk food store. That would be great. This has cumin in it. It's got chili powder. It's got a bit of cayenne. Probably got a little bit of coriander in there. It's really, really good. So I'm just gonna give that a bit of a mix up. And then toss in about 1/4 cup of olive oil. Now, This is where anytime I'm measuring olive oil and from my mom, she's like, that's a quarter cup. That is not a quarter cup. You gotta keep going. I'll tell you in a second. We're almost at a quarter cup. I'm gonna call that a quarter cup. Essentially, I count to like 3 per every tablespoon. That's kind of how it works for me. So give that a mush around a little bit. Season that up with some salt, maybe a bit of pepper if you want, and then just toss in whatever protein you're using. I'm using boneless, skinless chicken thighs because they're really great. They're already nice and flattened. Essentially, when the bone is removed, they kind of flatten out, kind of like you would if you pounded out a chicken breast. You could also do sliced up tofu. Essentially, you want about 450 grams of whatever protein you're using. So just squeeze out all of that air, give this a mush up, which is probably my favorite thing in the kitchen. Feels real weird. Feels like a science experiment, but it's gonna be delicious. Now, I wanna pop this into the fridge for at least an hour. Now, if you were doing something like shrimp, I would marinate it for max an hour, but since we're doing chicken, you can do this up to overnight. That'll get that flavor really nice and in there. So I've got a pan here over medium-high heat. I'm gonna add in a little bit of oil. Oh, that is over high heat, my friends. I'm gonna turn that down a little bit. Don't worry about it. Burrito bowl's all about that little smoky flavor. So I'm just gonna take this chicken right on out of here. If you wanted to, you could drain away some of that marinade, but you don't need to. And I'm just gonna pop these babies right on into this pan. Oh. Again, chicken thighs, they kind of come rolled up. So if you unroll them a bit, they flatten out, they're gonna cook way quicker. And essentially here, what you're looking for is golden brown char, a little bit of kind of like almost burnt. If you wanted to, you could do this on the barbecue. You could do it in a pan like I'm doing. But you just want to cook those until they are nice and charred and cooked all the way through. That should be about 10 to 15 minutes. We are kicking off meal plan week with my Monday night burrito bowls, which very quickly turn into Tuesday day lunch burrito bowls, which is always a very good thing. So right here, I have got that chicken. It is cooked off. It's a little bit charred and golden brown. Y'all, does it not smell real nice in here? Really good. I'm very excited about this. Again, this marinade that I did on this chicken, it works in just an hour. You could do it on shrimp, you could do it on tofu, you could do it on steak, whatever you want. I did chicken thighs, but I'm just gonna set these babies aside. Essentially, anytime you're cooking meat, or any sort of protein really, you do want to give it a chance to rest. Now, I know if you're not somebody who cooks a lot, that sounds very precious. It sounds like, well, I want to rest. Why does this chicken get to rest when I'm still working? But essentially, what's happening here, when you put chicken or any sort of protein onto the heat, essentially what happens while it's cooking is it tenses up as it's cooking. And if you don't give it a chance to relax, as soon as you cut it, all that juice is going to come out. If you let it rest and set aside, it just kind of like chills out. It's gonna be fine, and it's gonna be juicy. All that juice is gonna stay on the inside of that chicken, which is a very good thing. So while that chicken gets to resting, I'm gonna jazz up my rice. Now, I made this rice earlier. I've fluffed it up a little bit with a fork, just plain long grain white rice. It looks absolutely perfect. And because we rinsed it, each little grain is individual. So you're not ending up with like weird mushy rice, which is a very good thing. But I wanna add in some flavors just to amp this up a bit. So the first thing I'm gonna add in is a little bit of lime zest and juice, because we're making cilantro lime rice, which I feel like you gotta pay extra for at those burrito bowl places. And I'm not gonna make you pay extra. I'm just telling you how to use a lime and cilantro. It's a good thing. All right, a little bit of that lime zest gives you that, again, that bright lime flavor. It's gonna mimic the flavors that's going on in that chicken and that marinade. So that's looking beautiful. Little bit of juice in there too. Oh, I could already tell. As soon as I picked up this lime, I was like, this is a lemon of a lime. Not a lot of juice in there. Ugh. When I first realized that that's why we call like not great cars lemons, you know when you get a lemon and you spend $1 on it and there's no juice in it? Ugh. You lost the kitchen lottery that day. The worst. All right, that's looking good. Give that a little fluff up with a fork. And that is gonna be totally delicious. Those little flecks of green in there just show you got a little bit of flavor. But for a bit more green, I'm gonna add in a bit of cilantro. So we've got that cilantro that we chopped the stems off of earlier. So I need about 1/4 cup of that, just mixed into that rice. You can chop it as finely or as big as you'd like. I'm gonna go big and chunky today. Pop that in, give that a mix. And that right there just jazzes up normal plain old rice and you're good to go. Now, In addition to that rice, one thing, in my opinion, you always need in a burrito or a burrito bowl is some beans. So I've got a can of drained and rinsed black beans here. And just to jazz those up, I'm gonna add on about a tablespoon of olive oil. Oil carries flavor. It's gonna add a little bit more onto those beans if that oil wants to come out. I think I'm running low on oil. Okay, cool. Looking good. Now I'm also gonna add a little bit of that Tex-Mex seasoning. That's gonna, again, bring a little bit more flavor, mimic the flavor that's going on in that chicken. Just about a teaspoon of that right on there. That just seasons those beans up. And to be honest, right now, as is, these are delicious. Just from the can, little bit of oil, little bit of that seasoning on there. But if you wanted, if you had a bit of time or there's still a little bit of heat in that pan, toss those beans into that pan. Essentially what happens when you heat up a bean is it kind of like turns into sort of popcorn. It splits open. The inside gets really fluffy and light. The outside gets a little bit crispy and you end up with like this delicious flavor bomb of a bean. Tons of flavor, tons of texture, and it's really, really good. But we don't have a ton of time, so we're just gonna use them as is. Now, I am gonna slice up this chicken. So we've got that beautiful chicken, again, that's rested. It slices up beautifully. You can cut it into chunks, strips, whatever you'd like. But essentially, this is where you get to assemble your burrito bowls. And to me, anytime you're having like a taco night or a burrito night or anything like that, it's all about the assembly station. So over here, we have got lettuce, some corn, some tomatoes, bit of guacamole, some feta for that kind of queso fresco vibe, a little bit of lime and some green onions. Now, to serve this up, I'm gonna pop a little bit of that rice into a bowl. We got that lime juice on there, that bit of cilantro. If you wanted, you could throw some chili in there too. That would be absolutely delish. Yeah. We got Chris Corrado on the camera really wanting that chili. He was asking me where the hot sauce was and I forgot it. And he's mad. Yeah. All right, now I'm gonna toss those beans on into that bowl too. And I'm somebody, when I'm building a bowl, I almost want it to look kind of like an artist's palette. Little chunks of everything kind of all around. Some shredded lettuce is gonna go in there just on the side. Maybe a little bit of that corn on there for that bit of pop. You can use canned corn, which we call for in the grocery list, but if you had frozen corn on hand, that would work too. Little bit of some tomato on there. Maybe some of that guac. And then, obviously, that chicken. So we've got some of that beautiful chicken just off to the side, placed right there. Juicy, flavorful, and totally out of control. That, to me, looks like one heck of a burrito bowl. And fun fact, if you build this at the same time as you're building another one in a container for you to take for work the next day, you got lunch covered. I've got one here with a little bit of tofu. Again, oh my gosh, I'm gonna give this a go. We got that, I'm having the tofu one, a little bit of rice. Oh my gosh, that's delicious. Honestly, Chris Corrado though, the guy holding this camera, it could use some hot sauce. So we're good. Oh my gosh, that is so good though. Now, we've got this meal ready for today, this Monday night burrito bowl, but get ready for day 2 of meal plan week tomorrow. We are making fish tacos. I am so excited about it. And if you still need to get your groceries, just go to thegoodstuff.ca for my list. Hey, Mary here. What did you think? Drop your comments below and don't forget to like and subscribe for more of The Good Stuff.